Hello everyone, welcome to PW OnlyIAS YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing great today. I'm Nikhil Ram and I'm here with another session on current affairs for public administration from the month of February 2025. Without any further delay, I am taking you right into the topics. So before we head on, this is my Telegram channel, official Telegram channel. You can ask your doubts here. You can get mentoring support from me also here. You can send in your answers here. I'll be reviewing the same. So it will take some time, obviously, because it's a free platform. There is no charges for this. Anybody can send in their answers, but the answers should be obviously in the PYQ format. That is PYQ, that is only the previous year questions from 2013 onwards. You can send in your optional, which is public administration, the subject that I teach. Along with this, you can send GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Along with that, the essay. Clear, people? Now, in addition to this, what you have to remember is please send all the answers in the PDF format. Clear, people? That is all that is there to it. Now, let us look into the topics that we'll be handling from the month of February. Public administration current affairs, accountability, policy formulation, judicial corrections, judiciary directing executive, incrementalism, integration, organizational goals, differentiation, data point, rent seeking behavior, informal groups, systems theory, legislature, NPS or networked governance or participative management, NPM, executive, PMO, PSU, bureaucracy, technology, local governance, RTI, conflict, needs theory, classical theory, evolution of public administration, governor, Niti Ayog. As you can clearly see, pretty much very vast it is. But again, the purpose of these sessions are a quick revision of your paper 1 and a complete updation with whatever is happening in your paper 2. Please stick to these sessions because once at least if you have revised your public administration notes, irrespective of whether you attended my class or not, at least once from your end if you have revised it, you want a quick revision only or you want to make the connection only, please stick to these topics. Please stick to this YouTube channel. This is the easiest and fastest way you can revise it and you will get a very clear understanding of the concepts as you will be seeing from our very first topic. Accountability. Forgery, ghost applicants, fake ration cards mar JMM government scheme for women. The Mukhyamantri Maya Samman Yojana, the flagship scheme of the Jharkhand Mukti Moksha led coalition government. In that, what they found out for this JMM scheme, 11,200 fake applications were detected. 11,200 fake applications. The fraud came to light during physical verification of application by the Bokaro Deputy Commissioner. There are many ghost applicants. Even ration cards are fake. One bank account was mentioned 49 times in Chandan Kiari, 20 times in Kasmar, 12 times in Burmo, and 7 times in Gornia. It was also used in Chas and Chandrapura. Altogether, this bank account was used 94 times. Many beneficiaries also gave the same Aadhaar card number. That means new ways people are finding out to fake and fool the government whenever any scheme is launched for women. Getting the point here. So, what does this indicate? We need to keep a basic system according to the principles of classical theory, use technology efficiently so that there is no way by which the same Aadhaar card or same bank account number gets repeated. Getting the point here. Now this clearly shows it is a lapse from the government officials. Because say for example, when you and I actually go to a, let us say, a mobile shop or sorry, to buy a SIM card, they verify our Aadhaar, they verify our mobile number, etc. There is no way by which there is a duplication there. So the process has not been put in place, even though Aadhaar verification Bank account verification, everything can be done through a simple SMS. Getting the point here? It took the deputy commissioner to find this out. Clear? So this is the point. Main idea here is you need to put a proper system armed with technology. Clear, people? Moving on. Center clears way for faster sanctioning of homes for tribes. Speedier sanctioning of homes for particularly vulnerable tribal groups across India under its PM Janman package after it was flagged that maintaining data sanctity through the PM Gati Shakti portal was taking too much time, resulting in line ministries not being able to sanction the projects in time. Line and staff principle. We would have heard this already when we were dealing with public administration, correct? So line ministry means what? They are responsible for implementation. But because the names were initially, the data was initially maintained under the PM Gati Shakti portal, it was taking too much time. The PM Janman package launched in November 2023 intends to achieve 100% saturation of basic schemes like housing, piped water, roads, etc. across habitations of PVTG population. Under the housing component, a target has been set to sanction and build 4.90 lakh PM Awas homes to PVTGs. Under this method, each district is required to upload exact details of the place, the village code and number of beneficiaries that require PM Awas home on the PM Gati Shakti portal, which is monitored by the respective line ministries and supervised by the Tribal Affairs Ministry. This method ensured data perfection for the government and has allowed the Tribal Affairs Ministry to play its role as the nodal ministry, but it was taking too much time for this process to be completed, the ministry noted. What is it? I know, pretty long and pretty confusing. Simple. Now, in one side, in the first article, what did we see? Hardly any system in place, as a result of which we found more than 11,200 fake applicants. Correct? So, under this scheme for particularly vulnerable tribal group, government was very clear that under the PM Gati Shakti portal, every detail will be mentioned. Village code, how many people need Awas Yojana, all that details has to be entered manually. And which is monitored by the respective line ministries as well as by the Tribal Affairs Ministry. Means there is no way by which you can create any fake account. Properly monitored. Center is involved, state is involved, because from local area you are getting the code, everything. But when you kept everything watertight, now what is the issue? Implementation was taking time. Getting the point here. This is the problem when you try to ensure accountability. On one side, when you try to make the rules too strict, it will take its own sweet time. On the other side, when you don't keep a system at all in place, then what will happen? You will have fake beneficiaries. Clear? The Delhi Exchequer lost 2002 crore in revenue due to the poor implementation of the Delhi Excise Policy 2021-22 by the previous Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, said the CAG report tabled in Delhi Assembly on Tuesday. Again, this highlights the importance of having a financial auditor like CAG. Infested grains. 20 FCI officials in Aligarh served notices. 20 officials of the Food Corporation of India storage facility in Aligarh have been served show cause notices after a probe revealed that 20,000 metric tons of wheat and 5,000 MT of rice stored there were infested with weevils and deemed unfit for human consumption, officials said on Wednesday. Clear with that? Again, accountability only. That is, we are holding officers accountable here. In the first two examples, or rather three examples, we are not able to fix the accountability. Like where exactly things are going wrong. We know fake applicants are there. We know here things are taking time. We know here excise policy has failed. Agreed. But are we putting the blame on any individual person? No. Because it is difficult when it comes to schemes of government, it is actually difficult to pinpoint and say this particular person is responsible. However, in the third example, what is happening? We have held the officials responsible there. Why? Because we have found out the presence of what? Weevils. Small insects, these are pests in rice. So obviously we can hold the officials responsible there for making the rice unfit for human consumption. Getting the point here, people? So this enhances the importance of what? When you don't have accountability and when you have accountability, what is the difference? You can make people responsible, or you can rather ensure that the officials here, at least in future, will exhibit what? Theory Y behavior. Getting the point here? Here, it's very difficult to ensure theory Y behavior with government schemes because there is no single point of failure and there is no single point of responsibility. Because when a government scheme is failing, multiple reasons are there. You cannot actually go and say, oh, this person didn't do it, that person didn't do it. Because center is involved, state is involved, local bodies are involved. On whom are you going to place the blame? Getting the point here, people? Moving on. Positive breathalyzer results among loco pilots baffle officials. Southern Railway authorities were recently caught off guard by a sudden increase in positive breathalyzer results among loco pilots during mandatory tests before start of duty. Okay. A section of loco pilots seem to be taking railways for a ride by consuming products such as mouthwash and cough syrup shortly before the test to give false readings. What is happening? Again, accountability. So, breathalyzer test is given basically to ensure that the loco pilots have not consumed alcohol. But what is happening here? They are taking other mouthwash, syrup, or whatever it is, and they are basically fooling the system. Railways cannot employ loco pilots for duty if the presence of alcohol is detected. This causes strain on the crews of railways as the utility will have to arrange additional staff in a short period of time. Getting the point here. So ensuring accountability in our country is not at all easy. We can clearly say here also what is happening. Just a minute. This has forced the Southern Railway Thiruvananthapuram to issue a circular instructing all running staff, loco pilots, to avoid the consumption of homeo medicine, soft drinks and tender coconut water, plantain, cough syrup, mouthwash, and so on before signing on for duty. The circular got headlines and has been trolled on social media platforms. Again, we are trying to fix accountability here, but it is not at all an easy task because once again, what we are seeing is a clear display of theory X behavior, or rather, we can even say immaturity. Clear, people? NARC shifting inspection to online puts Bengal colleges on tenterhooks. Several West Bengal colleges were disappointed after the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, a government agency that evaluates the performance of education institutions and gives them accreditation, shifted the inspection from physical to online mode. The colleges regretted wasting precious time completing the tedious paperwork and fulfilling other requirements for the physical inspection. That means this is a clear sign of what? A lack of communication. If I am NARC agency, I am going to do inspection. And if I'm planning to do it online or offline, I have to tell it very clearly. So after doing all the paperwork, preparing everything for physical inspection, finally I'm telling that, no, I won't be coming physically. Now you submit all these documents in the online format, in the PDF format, that format, this format. Imagine what time will go into it again. It's double work. The NARC's decision comes amid allegations that an Andhra Pradesh institution paid bribes to a visiting NARC team in exchange for favorable ratings. This is the major reason for shifting into online mode now. Allegation of taking bribes. However, colleges which have already received the verification date will be physically inspected by the NAC. Mr. Pal underlined that the procedure for online verification was yet to be published. It is hard to conclude whether the online process will be better. Until last year, nearly 20% of colleges in the state had NAC accreditation, which established their reputation as educational institutions and entitled them to various central government funds. That was when the state government began pushing institutions to get the accreditation quickly and set up numerous panels at different levels to guide colleges through the process. Many colleges burned the midnight oil to complete the requirements. Why a NAC accreditation is beneficial? It gets you additional funds from the center. So the state government also started pushing many colleges and set up panels to ensure that these colleges get a NAC rating. Another reason for the hurry was that the rating system was set to change later this year. Currently, a college mainly needs to show its pass percentage and the number of add-on courses it offers. But once the new system is in place, placements or progression of students will also be the parameters for accreditation. The rural colleges seems to be more concerned due to poor internet connections and other technical difficulties. This is the problem. Now, we are trying to ensure once again accountability. How? Online. But the million-dollar question is, what about the infrastructure required for it? Because we know it for a fact that in rural areas, internet connectivity is poor. Our campus is spread across a large area. We still do not know how to showcase our college in the online mode. Internet connection is also often weak. It is disheartening we are suffering because of the dishonesty and corruption in other institutions. In the post-COVID situation, when everything was haphazard, it needed a lot of extra time and effort to keep all documents in an apple pie order ready for the peer team visit. So it is not at all easy. That is the bottom line. That is, when one institution does something stupid, every other institutions have to pay the price for it. And when there is no clarity, it is easy to bring a rule. Like how Woodrow Wilson would say, it is easy to make a constitution, but difficult to run one. Just like that, here also it is the same thing. It is easy to say, okay, we are going into online mode. How? Because college inspection, when I talk about, I need to see how big the college is, how good are the classrooms, how good are its infrastructure, how are we going to do all of that through the online mode? What are the criteria here? How do you get to know about the size of the college? How do you get to know that this is not something which is photoshopped? How do you ensure that? How do you make it foolproof? How are you going to ensure here also the accountability? No clarity on that. Clear? NAC debars varsity in AP for 5 years from accreditation. The case involves the CBI probe into the alleged bribery of a NAC team by the Guntur-based Koneru Lakshmaya Education Foundation. The council also debars all 7 members of the team. Again, classic example of what? Fixing accountability. The NAC, the Autonomous Accreditation Body for Higher Education Institutes, on Saturday announced that its executive committee has decided not only to cancel the current process of accreditation of the Koneru Lakshmaya Education Foundation in Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, but also debar its university for 5 years from applying for accreditation. It has also decided to debar all the 7 members of the peer team for lifetime in assessment or or any other activities of the NAC with immediate effect. The case involves the CBI investigation into the alleged bribery of NAC team by the KLEF in exchange for an A++ ratings. A++ rating for its university. Clear, people? How people try to, get the rating. So, diffraction when we have in a society, you have NAC as a separate agency. Diffraction may not necessarily ensure what? Complete smooth running of all the operations if corruption is involved. So diffraction is not a permanent solution. So when you have a separate agency, you also have to ensure what? It is foolproof. There is no corruption happening. We have fixed the accountability. We have fixed the accountability on the erring institution as well as on the erring officials. Clear, people? Moving on. Railways forms committee to investigate Delhi stampede. Why? To fix accountability. That's as simple as that. This is during the Kumbh Mela. Over 7,000 appeal cases pending before Haryana State Information Commission. 7,216 till December. The reply shows that only 1,000 odd cases have been decided by the SIC in a year's time. Going at this pace, the commission might take 7 to 8 years to clear the backlog. Just in one state information commission, it will take 7 to 8 years just to clear the backlog. Clear, people? On whom you should fix the accountability? Why is it that the State Information Commission is taking so much of time? Getting the point here. And that is the reason again, because there is no accountability fixed here. Things are happening with complete impunity. So, any government process you're talking about, we need to fix what? Accountability. Or else what will be the obvious result? Inefficiency. Clear? CBI books 9 persons for sabotaging IT department scheme. The CBI has booked 9 persons, including an income tax deputy commissioner, most probably that could be an IRS officer, and 2 inspectors apart from 5 chartered accountants for allegedly attempting to sabotage the faceless scheme of assessment of the department. 2019, the Union government had launched the faceless assessment scheme to eliminate the face-to-face interaction between taxpayers and the income tax department. However, it is alleged that to circumvent the system, a group of CAs in a criminal conspiracy with some income tax officials was clandestinely disclosing the names of pending high-value assessment, appeal or refund cases. Briefly about the faceless scheme of assessment. That is, if I am an income tax officer, you are, let us say, somebody worth crores together. You are paying crores in tax every year. According to the faceless assessment scheme, I won't know who you are. I won't even have any of your personal details. I will just have what is your income, what is your expense, how much TDS you paid, tax you paid, or all your numbers in order or not. That is my only job as an income tax officer. The purpose of this is when a government servant does not have to meet the citizen. That means when you keep the interface, zero interface between the citizen and government official, automatically what will come down? Corruption will go down. But a few enthusiastic officers and chartered accountants thought otherwise. They were like, let us find out who are these high tax paying individuals. Why? Then you can take bribe from them. CBI has caught up with them. So here what has happened? We have literally fixed the accountability. Clear, people? Policy formulation. Karnataka decides to allow terminally ill to die with dignity. In a historic move, the Karnataka Health Department on Friday issued an order to implement the Supreme Court's ruling allowing terminally ill patients to die with dignity. Karnataka is the second state after Kerala to implement this. That means this is again a classic example of how judicial activism leads to a policy being made by the concerned legislatures or the executive. Getting the point here? That is, judiciary was the first actually to come up with this idea that everybody has the right to die with dignity. So Supreme Court came out with a certain guidelines, etc. for it. Based on the judicial ruling, the state government of Kerala passed a law. Now Karnataka has also passed a law. The state will follow the procedure laid down by the apex court, withholding or withdrawing life-sustaining treatment with the approval of the treating doctor. The department has also come out with an advanced medical directive or a living will in which patients can record their desired medical treatment for the future. This is the ultimate thing. That means normally what do we see is legislature makes the law, then it is checked by judiciary. This is something normal. In judicial activism, judiciary ends up making law. I'm not saying it is really a law made, but judiciary ends up making one through a judgment. And to give effect to the law, orders are passed by executive, or proper bill is introduced in the parliament or in the legislative assembly to give effect to the judicial ruling. Clear, people? Judicial corrections. Order of Sessions Court in Badlapur police encounter case shocking. Bombay High Court. When the matter is sub judice, could the session court could have even entertained the application of policemen? Has the sessions judge not overreached and overstepped this jurisdiction? This is a question of judicial impropriety. We don't know what to say. This is shocking. Did the state not inform the sessions court that the High Court is seized of the matter? Is the state planning to challenge the sessions court order? Are you not appalled and shocked? What does it mean? So the Badlapur police encounter case, it is still under the High Court. So when High Court is dealing with a matter, can Supreme Court interfere in it? Definitely yes, because Supreme Court is the higher court. But when High Court is dealing with something, can a lower court pass any judgment with regard to the same case? Absolutely not. By what authority have you done this? That is what High Court is questioning. So this is a classic example of judiciary correcting itself, correcting its own system. I know directly, sir, how will we link this with paper one? Not much scope is there. Then why are we discussing it? Because I have told you when we were actually doing public administration optional, that when you are preparing for UPSC public administration optional, you will also end up doing a lot of GS paper 2. So from GS paper 2, we can just make a note of this: judiciary correcting judiciary. That is, this is the best example for how we have a single integrated judiciary. Clear, people? Moving on. Judiciary directing executive. This would be one of the most largest content area in any month. Repeatedly, judiciary telling the government, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. So we are going to see countless number of examples under this particular topic. Clear, people? So let us start one by one. Ensure timely police action, Madras High Court tells officials. The Madras High Court on Friday asked Tamil Nadu Home Secretary Dheeraj Kumar to ensure that police personnel register FIRs and complete investigation in criminal cases within a reasonable time and without prolonging matters for years together. Court is telling the Home Secretary, get your men to do the job properly and on time. Getting the point here? Clear example of what? Why we need dominative leadership or dominating authority. Otherwise, people won't do their work properly. Getting the point here? SC leaves decision on VIP darshan at temples to states. The Supreme Court on Friday remarked that VIPs need not be given special treatment for entering temples, but refused to entertain or pass any orders on a petition challenging the practice of preferential darshan at religious places. Supreme Court is like, it is left to the states. But we are very clear on one thing: don't give preferential treatment. So what is happening here? Supreme Court could have given clear guidelines, but no. Supreme Court has passed the ball back to whom? Back to the states. So states should come with a solution. But will states do that is the question. That is, let us not give EVIP treatment to anybody means that means including the chief minister, the governor, the other ministers, the cabinet. Nobody should get it. No judges should get it. So somewhere they are trying to reach a compromise, we can say. Passing it on. That is, initially case went to court. Now court is telling no, let the states decide. Nobody wants to take the responsibility. Government obliged to consider remission of eligible convicts. Supreme Court. Supreme Court in a judgment on Tuesday declared that appropriate governments must consider the premature release of convicts when they become eligible without waiting for the convicts or their relatives to apply for a remission of sentence. That means government itself should feel that they feel that certain convicts are eligible to be released means do it. Don't wait for a formal application to come from the side of the convicts. That is, court is expecting a little more proactive behavior from the side of the government. Clear, people? Moving on. Customs GST officers cannot make arrests arbitrarily on a whim. Customs officers and GST officers have a duty like their enforcement directorate counterparts under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act to not arrest people arbitrarily on a whim. They are not police officers and had to follow a higher threshold before effecting arrest. This means they should have a reason to believe that the person has actually committed the offense. Police officers, on the other hand, can arrest a person without warrant on suspicion. So, Supreme Court is trying to bring clarity here because this has been going on for quite a while now. The blame game that comes on IT officers, GST officers, the enforcement directorate officers, that is, they are showing a sort of high-handedness. High-handed means I can do whatever I want. Law allows me to do so. That sort of a thing. The court is basically telling that you're not police officers. Police officers can arrest somebody on mere suspicion. You cannot do that. You have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that yes, this person has committed an offense. Clearly, some evidence or some fact should be there to back it up. A person is said to have a reason to believe a thing if they have sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise. This represents a more stringent standard than the mere suspicion threshold provided under Section 41, power of police officers to arrest without a warrant under the Code of Criminal Procedure. It reminded the Union government that the authority to arrest without a warrant or instituting a criminal case was a drastic and extreme power. The court found justification in petitioner submission that SSCs are compelled to pay tax as a condition for not being arrested. If you don't pay the tax, we are going to arrest you. Now, automatically a question. If I don't keep a punishment, that is, if an officer cannot threaten somebody of a punishment, then how can we expect everybody to actually respect the law? Especially with something like tax evasion. Automatically, that is the next question. The GST Act gives an option to the SSC and do not confer any right on tax authorities to compel or extract tax by threatening arrest, the Supreme Court pronounced. So this is the question where now Supreme Court tells that you cannot use threat of arrest to make somebody pay the tax means automatically what does it mean? It is actually a case of judicial overreach. Now, when the court says you are not like police officer, when the court says you cannot make arrests like that simply on a whim, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, then how can a GST officer ensure that these people pay the taxes on time? If a GST officer, let us say you come to me tomorrow and you're asking me to pay the GST, pay this, but I know very well that you cannot arrest me anymore, then what compulsion is there for me to pay the tax? What compulsion? Getting the point here. So how else is an officer expected to do his duty? This is the question. You have genuinely arrested somebody on a false pretense, then yes, punish the officer. There are various provisions of the law. But if an officer is using threat of arrest to ensure that the person who is supposed to pay the taxes on time, what is wrong in it? Clear, people? Moving on. UGC to release norms to end caste bias in colleges, varsities. The UGC Commission on Thursday informed the Supreme Court that new regulations to prevent caste discrimination in higher educational institutions and universities across India have been drafted and will be placed in the public domain for soliciting comments. That is, they have informed the Supreme Court. Executive body again, that to end caste discrimination, we have kept in a policy. We are bringing in draft regulations. Bhopal toxic waste. Supreme Court not to intervene in High Court order. You seem to be following the NIMBY principle. That is, not in my backyard. Very interesting terminology. Not in my not in my backyard. That is, I want everything nice. I want everything to be clean. But don't put anything in my backyard. Whatever it is, I want all the benefits, but I don't want any responsibility. So why the Supreme Court said this? So basically, after more than 40 years, finally, the day has come to dispose of the Bhopal toxic waste. So, here what has happened is, you are saying if they want to pollute, they may do it somewhere else, but not in my backyard, not in indoor. The court noted that the state action to dispose of the waste in Pithampur was based on reports by an expert committee. Senior advocate Devadatt Kamath, appearing for the petitioner Chinmay Mishra, said the reports and recommendations for safe transit and destruction are not being followed by the state government. Incineration will not completely get rid of the toxic waste. The bench said the petitioner and interveners could also give their suggestions to the state government, which should be placed before the panel for consideration. What is the interesting thing here? So basically, they are transporting the waste from Bhopal and they are going to incinerate it. Incinerate means it's a large burner where you put the waste, you burn it completely. So they are going to incinerate it. But here that incineration process itself, they are telling that it is not being done scientifically. What the court is telling is, oh, is it so? Then you give your suggestion. We'll put it before the experts panel and we will all come to a nice conclusion. So court is doing what job here? Court is doing the work of integration. Getting the point, people? Moving on. Supreme Court reinstates Bihar RJD MLC, says ouster was highly excessive, disproportionate. The Supreme Court on Tuesday reinstated Rashtriya Janata Dal leader Sunil Kumar Singh to the Bihar Legislative Council, setting aside the Election Commission notification for a by-election to his seat. Mr. Singh's expulsion from the council following his remarks against Chief Minister Nitish Kumar was highly excessive and disproportionate. That is simply for making comments against the Chief Minister. This gentleman here was immediately removed from the MLC post. Supreme Court came heavily on it. For such a small thing, why will you take such a drastic exercise? Clear. Once again, this highlights the fact that the strength of Supreme Court here. Because as soon as this guy was removed, they immediately called for a by-election and all of that. Supreme Court literally put a halt to all of this by reinstating this gentleman back to his post. Giving clarity there. Moving on. High Court overturned suspension of transport employee for sleeping during duty hours. Why? Now, an employee basically, he slept during duty hours. Emphasizing the importance of right to sleep and work-life balance of employees, particularly those working in shifts, the High Court of Karnataka has found no fault with a constable of State Transport Corporation sleeping during duty hours, as he was compelled to work for double shifts, 16 hours of 24 hours every day for 60 days without break. Pretty sure Narayana Murthy will be very happy to see this. 16 hours every day he is working for 60 days. Total of 960 hours. The court also noted that the corporation's vigilance department, which had recommended petitioner suspension, had also submitted a report that there were only 3 constables in the depot and the workload on the exiting staff is extremely high, while suggesting to appoint 2 more constables. That means already it is what? Understaffed. And here, overload. Citing the articles of Universal Declaration of Human Rights dealing with right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours, and judgment on this issue by other high courts, Justice Naga Prasanna said the petitioner is made to overwork by 2 shifts in 24 hours for 60 long days without break. Therefore, the action of the KKRTC placing the petitioner under suspension for the folly of the corporation is undoubtedly an action which suffers from want of bona fides. If the petitioner had slept while on duty, when his duty was restricted to a single shift, it would undoubtedly become misconduct. The court also pointed out that the covenants in the International Labour Organization, to which India is a part, recognizes the work and life balance, and the hours of work should not exceed 48 hours in a week and 8 hours in a day, except in exceptional circumstances, is what is indicated in the covenants. Maximum productivity out of any individual according to ILO is what? 48. Maximum in a day, 8. Not more than that. Only under exceptional circumstances, people should be made to work that many hours. So, whatever it was, the KKRTC employees' track record was clearly what? A byproduct of the inefficiency of the department. Once again, court is coming to the rescue and directing the executive department what is right and what is not. Clear, people? Concept of sexual equality and moral and ethical training of how women should behave with women respectfully must become a part of school syllabus. Moral and ethical training, etiquette must be made part of the school syllabus. There must be a module to inculcate this in schools at a very early age for children. Now schools do not have moral education. 50% of our population, women, are living under tremendous strain and insecurity. There is a rise in the misogynistic and barbaric attitude towards women. Education must start at the smallest level to change the attitude towards women. Awareness that a woman was independent, her own person, and commanded respect and equal treatment in society must be inculcated in society. Justice Nagaratna said environmental science started being taught in schools as a subject on the orders of the Supreme Court. Likewise, moral education must become a part of the school syllabus. Not the first time where Supreme Court is directing the states even with matters to education. What should be taught in schools? Because schools ultimately comes under the state's domain. So states should, what the state should teach, here also we can see Supreme Court is directing them. Why? Because there is a lack of it. So earlier when environmental science also was introduced as a subject in schools, thanks to the Supreme Court, now the demand is for what? Moral education. Awareness of the stringent laws against rape must be advertised in cinema halls and in the media. There is no point if the person knows about these laws after he is sentenced to 20 years or is about to be hung to death. That is the reality here, people. Many a times it has been found out that once these people are arrested, that is the rapists are arrested, and when the cops ask them, do you even know how many years you will go to jail? Many a times what they answer is, I know, 3 years, 5 years. Then the cops will look at them and then they will tell, you're going to go for life or you will be in jail for 15 to 20 years minimum. That is when these people get the shock. Because many a times the problem here is that these rapists, they don't feel as if they have done a crime. They feel, what did I do more? maximum. It is only this much that I did. This is how they respond. It is how they respond. Not surprising, because in our country, there are many politicians themselves who have said that rape is nothing but mistakes made by boys. Can't help it then. So in such a scenario, from a very young age, kids should be taught, especially boys should be taught about the rape laws, about the consequences of their actions, etc. Clear, people? Moving on. That is exactly what the Supreme Court is also saying. Weekly rest for pilots will be raised to 48 hours from July 1, Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court on Monday ruled that the weekly rest for pilots will be raised from 36 hours to 48 hours from July 1 with the implementation of the liberalized duty and rest norms announced by the aviation regulator last year. So again, once again, judiciary coming to the rescue for the pilots also. That how much should be the rest period? So this we can see there is a clear argument here for this to come as a question about the work-life balance. 70 hours we should work, 100 hours we should work. It is all nice and fun to say. When you have servants, when you don't have to worry about driving a car, cleaning your clothes, cleaning your home, washing the vessels, you can say it all easily. But for most of the Mamuli Janta, what is the reality? They need their time, the time to sleep at least, which most of the time is not there. So in the case of pilots also, what has been observed is they are being overworked, which is a compromise on aerial safety. Clear, people? Moving on. The Supreme Court on Monday said segregation of garbage starts at home and it is a practice which is of vital importance for the well-being of the environment. The court's amicus curiae said even waste-to-energy projects considered a solution to rid the city of its piles of garbage and put it for productive use would collapse without segregation. NCR had registered a low percentage of segregation of waste. Bio-waste is mixed with plastic in many households. The NCR states were ordered to file affidavits by the end of March, explaining the level of compliances of their urban bodies with 2016 rules. The court also directed the Central Pollution Control Board to submit a report on the impact of waste-to-energy projects on the environment. The Supreme Court, in a judgment on Friday, found the NMC's eligibility conditions that candidates with this. Okay, 1 minute. That's another article. So here what it is about. Segregation of waste at source is important for well-being of environment. That is the entire National Delhi Capital Region. That region we are talking about here. So here, urban local bodies should ensure that at the grassroots level, from each household level itself, what is happening? Waste segregation is happening. Now, urban local governments, if they have to do it, first thing what is required, you need to have municipalities. You need to have ULBs in place. You need to give them financial and functional autonomy. Because without money, how can they ensure that the waste is collected? Without freedom, how can they fine an individual if the waste has not been segregated properly? Getting the picture here, people? Moving on. So this is also another example of what? Judiciary directing the executive. Clear? Moving on to the next article, people. Continuing with our next article, the Supreme Court in a judgment on Friday found the National Medical Commission's eligibility conditions that candidates with disabilities must have both hands intact with intact sensation and sufficient strength for admission to MBBS course arbitrary and antithetical to the Constitution. A prescription such as both hands intact reeks of ableism, and has no place in a statutory regulation. In fact, it has the effect of denuding the rights guaranteed under the Constitution and the rights of persons with disabilities Act and makes a mockery of the principle of reasonable accommodation. Held at the view taken by the National Medical Council breached Article 41 of the Constitution, which guarantees the right to work, education and public assistance, and the principles enshrined in the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, It propagates that persons with typical abilities and with faculties similar to what the majority may have or somehow superior. Now we can understand the broad implication of this. That is, how can you make such a condition that both hands should be intact? Agreed. But ultimately, if you look at the other side, doctor's job, one has to do surgery, correct? In a very closed environment. I know there are disabled people who are driving cars. There are people who are doing multiple things today. But something as delicate and precise as a surgery. Don't we think that what the law mandates was not so far from the mark? Or maybe they should have worded it better. Getting the point here. So Supreme Court has once again came down trying to protect all. But maybe trying to protect all the people or to ensure equality everywhere, they might have tried to forget on what? Specificity. Specific to MBBS, shouldn't we make an exception? Getting the point here. This clearly shows once again when the executive does not define things very clearly, like what do they mean by both hands intact? Why it is necessary? What is the context here? When the executive does not make it very clear, who will step in? Judiciary. Got the point here, people? Moving on. Supreme Court stays Lokpal order on power over judges. Special bench terms top anti-corruption ombudsman's interpretation very disturbing as it passed an order giving itself jurisdiction to investigate complaints against High Court judges. Bench issues notice to the centre, the registrar of Lokpal. The Supreme Court on Thursday stayed a Lokpal order bringing High Court judges under its Supreme Court stays Lokpal order on power over judges. Supreme Court on Thursday stayed a Lokpal order bringing High Court judges under its jurisdiction, terming the top anti-corruption ombudsman's interpretation very disturbing. 3 senior judges of the Supreme Court and collegium members said it impacted the independence of the judiciary. Once again, nobody should appoint us other than us. Nobody should decide any cases on us other than us. Only we will decide our matters. Trust me, Indian judiciary is literally taking things to another level. That is, nobody can investigate them. Nobody should appoint them other than them. Their matters only they will decide. The definition of independent judiciary is being stretched like anything by the Indian courts, especially the Supreme Court. The order of the Lokpal, chaired by a former Supreme Court judge, Justice A.M. Khanwilkar, was based on a complaint that an additional High Court judge had influenced an additional district judge and later another High Court judge to decide in favor of a private company. It was alleged that the company had been a client of the judge during the latter's earlier years as an advocate. In a 13-page order, the Lokpal concluded that High Court judges were public servants and came within the ambit of the Lokpal and the Lokayuktas Act of 2013. Obviously, salaries of High Court judges, where does it come from? Your tax money and my tax money. Obviously, they should come under the definition of what? Public servants. The anti-corruption body assumed jurisdiction to inquire or investigate complaints about High Court judges on the ground that, unlike the Supreme Court, the High Courts in India were constituted by British Parliamentary Acts, Indian High Courts Act of 1865 and Government of India Act 1935, and the letters patent of the British monarch. In fact, the High Court predated the Constitution, the Lokpal reasoned. Article 214 of the Constitution, which said there shall be a High Court for each state, had only intrinsically recognized the existence of the High Court. The Constitution did not establish the High Courts, the Lokpal argued in the January 27 order. On the other hand, the Supreme Court was completely a child of the Constitution, the Ombudsman noted. A few days before the order, the Lokpal in a decision on January 3 had declared that it had no power over Supreme Court judges, including the Chief Justice of India. In January 3rd order, Lokpal had explained that the Supreme Court was not a body established by an act of parliament or financed or controlled by the central government. It had observed that Supreme Court judges, including the CJI, even though public servants in terms of the Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988, were not amenable to the jurisdiction of the Lokpal. But the Lokpal in its January 27 order found the argument that a High Court judge was outside the Ombudsman's jurisdiction too naive. The Lokpal said a High Court judge came within the ambit of Clause F of Section 14(1) of the 2013 Act. So, what is the bottom line here? Initially, they said Supreme Court will not come under them, neither Supreme Court judges of Chief Justice of India. They also said High Court also will not come under them. But later, the very recent order by the Lokpal actually put what? High Court judges under the ambit of Lokpal. So Supreme Court has even asked Center, what is your take on this? Getting the point. And Supreme Court has also called this what? This is very disturbing. Bringing the judiciary under Lokpal because it will sacrifice our independence. How? How is it going to sacrifice your independence when you are very sure, if I am a judge, if I'm very sure that I am not doing anything wrong, I have not taken a single rupee from anybody, why it will actually cause any trouble? The allegations or as reported in the media very recently of finding money, liquid money in the burnt home of a judge of a Delhi High Court clearly indicates what? Unaccounted wealth when we talk about even judiciary is not entirely what? Untainted. Judiciary cannot say that we are completely squeaky clean. If you're completely squeaky clean, bring yourself under the ambit of either Lokpal or bring yourself under the ambit of any investigative agencies of the government. Nothing. Getting the point here. Moving on. Supreme Court asks panel to look into Tamil Nadu's compliance over Mullaperiyar Dam. The Supreme Court on Wednesday directed a supervisory committee constituted by the Centre on January 3 and chaired by the head of the National Dam Safety Authority to look into the issues raised by the Tamil Nadu government against Kerala over maintenance of the 125-year-old Mullaperiyar Dam. I'm not going into the details of it because this one topic will keep coming in. As usual, because two states are involved here, Supreme Court will be always responsible for directing any executive authority that is involved with the Mullaperiyar Dam. Clear? So wherever a conflict is also there, Supreme Court does the job of what? Integration, coordination, domination, and sometimes even compromise. Trying to bring compromise between the two parties. As and when what is required accordingly, Supreme Court will take a stand. Clear? Legal system should evolve to respect adolescent love. High Court. Judge says the trial court's acquittal of a POCSO accused was well reasoned and does not require any interference. What is it about? So we all know that generally now in this generation especially 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, that is basically people right from 9th standard to 12th standard students, they get involved in a relationship. Sometimes they even get involved physically. But here what happens is, like I told you, we are going back to that initial discussion. Many boys who are studying in school, what are they not aware of? The law. A sexual relationship with a girl who is less than 18 years old, with or without her consent, is statutory rape. Because as per the definition of law, that girl is still a child. She is not in a position to take such decisions in her life. That is what the law interprets. The boy, if he has consensual sex also, he will go to jail under the provision of POCSO. So obviously, the boy was arrested by the cops, etc., because the girl's family put up a case on him. POCSO case, everything was revealed, was levied, was put on him. Finally, when the case went to the lower court, what they did, they acquitted him completely. And this was further, cemented by the High Court also by telling that show some respect to adolescent love. Clear? The court's observation came while adjudicating a case of sexual assault registered against a man under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act by the father of a 16-year-old girl. Citing delayed probe in chopper scam, Supreme Court grants bail to accused. Supreme Court on Tuesday granted bail to Christian Michelle James, the alleged middleman in the Augusta Westland chopper scam, saying the trial may not be completed in the next 25 years at this pace. They refused the CBI's request to adjourn the hearing. Once again, court taking a call. That is, at this rate, you people will keep on stretching this case for another 25 years. We are giving him bail. Clear. So, in one, court taking a magnanimous stand. Here again, court taking a stand in favor of the accused who is still an under trial. So, charge sheet, etc. is yet to happen. It's yet to be filed. Trial is yet to start. It is going on getting delayed. Supreme Court did what? Gave bail to the scam accused. Raising of most. Supreme Court asks why UP authorities should not be booked for contempt. Why it shouldn't happen? Why contempt proceedings should not be initiated against them for raising a portion of a mosque at Kushinagar in alleged disobedience of the apex court's direction. Even after court directed, they raised a part of the mosque. So they are asking why we shouldn't take action against you. Getting the point here. High Court seeks reply from Centre Uttarakhand government on 2 petitions challenging the Uniform Civil Code. High Court seeks Centre's reply over women's reservation. AI, a dangerous tool, be it in Chinese or American hands. Because of freebies, people don't want to work. Supreme Court judge. All these are news headlines. In the first one, again, direction, straight away they are asking, we want your reply with regard to Uniform Civil Code. Again, here Centre's reply over women's reservation. These two are observations made. This is still fine. AI is a dangerous tool, be it in the Chinese DeepSeek or the American ChatGPT. Fine. What about the last one? Court literally giving a comment on the policies of the government. Clear example of not interference anyway, but yeah, trespassing over executive domain. Clear, people? Moving on. Don't erase or reload the data while checking for EVM tampering, says Supreme Court. Don't erase it. Don't reload the data because we want to check it basically for whether any tampering has happened. Just present it to us as and how it is. Once again, directing the Election Commission of India with regard to the working and functioning of EVMs. Now, we always know EVM tampering is something which keeps coming in the news every time an election result comes out. Every time it is there. Okay. So, here again, the idea here is here also Supreme Court is getting involved with regard to Election Commission of India, the do's and don'ts, and directing election officials what should be done and what should be not. Checking and verifying the burnt memory of microcontrollers of EVM for signs of tampering does not envisage the erasing or reloading of data in the machines. Upheld the EVM system of polling while refusing a plea to revive paper ballots. Already we know what is the issue with a paper ballot. So court also told nothing doing. We are also not going to bring back the paper ballot. EVM system of polling is only better. In a separate direction, the top court had directed that the burnt memory of microcontrollers of 5% of EVMs, which includes that of control units, ballot units, and VVPATs in every assembly segment of a parliamentary constituency can be checked and verified by a team of engineers of the EVM manufacturers in case of any suspicion of tampering. So again, details of this case will come up shortly in our next month's current affair. Till then, let us wait. Delhi Supreme Court says on mob lynching prosecutions. Supreme Court on Tuesday said it cannot micromanage criminal prosecutions of mob lynchings and violence in different areas or different states across the country, sitting in Delhi, while urging victims to approach the local courts and state authorities to comply with the top court's direction in a 2018 judgment to prevent and fairly investigate hate crimes and communal violence. That is, sitting in Delhi, we cannot micromanage everything. You please go to the local authorities and the local state and your government to deal with what? Lynching. How can convicted persons return to make laws? Our Supreme Court. Supreme Court is basically telling somebody who has gone to jail for breaking a law, How can you ask that same person to come back as MLA or MP and make a law? That is the question. Once convicted, how can people come back to parliament and legislatures? There is an apparent conflict of interest. So, the court is hearing petitions seeking a lifetime ban on convicted persons from contesting elections. The government had maintained that disqualification under Section 8 of the Representation of the People Act of 1951 for the period of the prison sentence and 6 years thereafter was enough for legislators. The ministers had reasoned that MPs and MLAs were not bound by specific service conditions. That is, any which way, person will go to jail. They're convicted for more than 2 years. They will go to jail. All those years, they cannot become an MLA or MP. Then another 6 years, they are barred. That is more than enough, rather than putting a lifetime ban. Because there is no specific service conditions as such for MPs and MLAs. This is the argument. Supreme Court issues notice in plea challenging Bihar PSC chairman appointment. Supreme Court on Monday appointed an amicus curiae and issued formal notice to the state of Bihar on a plea challenging the appointment of State Public Service Commission Ravi Manubai Parmar. Now, Ravi Manubai Parmar is already having what? A vigilance case. That is the reason why Supreme Court is interfering here again. Everywhere you can see what Supreme Court is directing the government. Supreme Court is appointing somebody. Supreme Court is investigating something. All of this is happening by executive not doing its job. Mind you, this is also a classic case of what? Judicial activism. Because Supreme Court is appointing a commission to inquire whether this particular person is is entirely ethical, is entirely having a clean track record or not. Clear, people? The Supreme Court made it clear to the union government and states on Monday that no steps will be taken by them to reduce forest land unless compensatory land is provided by them for afforestation. We will not allow you to reduce the forest area. You cannot use any forest land for linear projects. If you are using an area for these projects, the same amount of land must be given for compensatory afforestation. The court was hearing a clutch of petitions challenging amendments made in 2023 to the Forest Act 1980. The 1980 statute was enacted to check further deforestation, leading to ecological imbalance. In February last year, the top court significantly declared in an order that the expression forest would continue to have a broad and all-encompassing meaning and include 1.97 lakh square kilometer of undeclared forest lands. The petitions had argued that Section 1A introduced through the Amendment Act had circumscribed or substantially diluted the definition of forest to two categories: declared forests and lands recorded as forests in government records after 1980. What is it? Original forest meaning, simple dictionary meaning is what? Area filled with trees, wildlife, etc. That meaning has always been used very broadly. Very broadly in the sense, now normally when you say there will be some areas which are declared forests. All right. State records, central records, it will be there. Then you will have what? Some areas which will be recorded, lands recorded as forests. That also will be there. Apart from these two, there is a third category called undeclared forest. That is, you have trees like anything. Thick trees are there. Little bit of wildlife is also there. So in the last year's amendment, what has happened is they have reduced forest just to two definitions. What is it? Declared forests and lands recorded as forests. That means undeclared forest doesn't come under it anymore. And whatever is undeclared forest can be used for any purpose. Supreme Court has come down heavily and told that nothing doing 1.97 lakh hectares of undeclared forests will also come under the definition of what? Forests. The center, however, had denied using the amendments to reduce the forest land. It pointed to the explanation to section 1A, which expanded the term government records contained in the provision to include lands recognized as forest by any state or union territory authority, local body, council, or recognized communities. That is, center's argument is what? That we did not reduce the land or anything. Any land recognized as forest by any state or union territory or by local body or recognized communities will be also what? Considered as forest. However, the court had directed the government for clarity's sake to revert to the dictionary meaning of forest as upheld in 1996 Supreme Court decision in the T.N. Godavarman Tirumulpad case. The term forest had been given a broad meaning by the court then to preserve these green expanses irrespective of their nature, classification, or ownership. The adoption of this dictionary meaning to forest was made to align with the intent of the Forest Conservation Act 1980. It is clarified that the expression forest will cover but not be confined to lands recorded as forest in the government records, the court had noted last year. That means won't be just what is recordically kept as forest. Not only that, even beyond that. That means it has a very broad meaning now. The bench had clarified that the all-encompassing dictionary meaning upheld by the Supreme Court in the Godavarman Tirumulpad case over 25 years ago would continue to hold field till the states and union territories prepare a consolidated record of all lands recorded as forest in government records, including forest-like areas, unclassed, and community forest land. Very, very important, people. The court said that exercise to prepare such a consolidated record was part of Rule 16 of a notification issued by the Environment Ministry on November 29, 2023 and would take a year. Clear? The Supreme Court on Tuesday pulled up the Assam government for detaining indefinitely people declared as foreigners in detention camps, asking the state whether it was waiting for an auspicious time to deport them. Court can ask, that is, whoever you have detained inside Assam, when are you going to send them back to Bangladesh? For what hour are you waiting for? Issue is, Bangladesh is not ready to take the people. So they are still in jail. And according to the human rights laws, if you see, that is illegal. You cannot keep somebody in jail without them doing any crime. But their only crime is what? They are in the country for coming in illegally, without any documents. Illegally, they are here. And you are deporting them, you have to deport them immediately. What are you waiting for? How long it will take for you to come to terms with what? The Bangladesh government. Once again, overstepping the boundaries. Because here multiple issues are there. There is no proper government in Bangladesh right now. Whom are you going to contact? The interim government there? Or the rioters there? Whom will you contact and ensure that people from here are taken back over there? So it is not easy. Court is definitely what? Overstepping its mandate. My information is that attempts are being made to figure out if Bangladesh will take these people out. Bangladesh is refusing. India says that they are not Indians. Bangladesh says they are not Bangladeshis. They have become stateless. They are in detention centers for over 10 years. Bangladesh says they won't accept anyone who lived in India for many years. What will we do then? Is the question. Moving on. Not good for anyone. Observe Supreme Court on politicization of sports administration. Deprecating the politicization of sports administration and the stranglehold of former judges and bureaucrats over sports bodies in the country, the Supreme Court on Tuesday directed the center to ensure the participation of the women's kabaddi team at the Senior Asian Kabaddi Championship hosted by Iran from February 20 to 25. What is this about? This is basically about the fact that sports bodies are largely filled with who? Judges and bureaucrats. Supreme Court is telling it should be actually having people from that same background. What are judges and bureaucrats doing here? The idea is simple. We are talking exactly about what politics administration dichotomy. And in this context, if you see, judges administration dichotomy. If the judiciary also separate from administration, if it is not their domain, courts, administration and judges, what link is there? Getting the point here. That is exactly what the court is also asking. People who think they can sit somewhere in Kuala Lumpur or Dubai and operate like a mafia are sadly mistaken, unless it is somebody who has really contributed to the sport. We will not allow anyone to come even near the stadium, let alone occupy office in these bodies. That is, whoever is sitting at the top of such sports administrative bodies, they must have a background in it. Clear, people? Moving on. Incrementalism. UIDAI notifies new rules for Aadhaar notification. So, for private entities to gain access to Aadhaar authentication, namely, the firms will have to refer their use case to a union or state government ministry or department, which will then have to refer the proposal to the UIDAI. Small changes. That means, if a private entity wants to use my Aadhaar data, first they will inform the concerned state or the concerned ministry, who will then place that request to the UIDAI. Just to ensure that for what purpose my Aadhaar data is being taken, is it genuine or not? Case of what? Incrementalism. System is already running, making some small changes to ensure that it is foolproof. How is registering brazen live-in relationships a privacy invasion? Asks High Court. What gossip? Are you living secretly in some secluded cave? You're living amongst the civil society. You're brazenly living together without there being a marriage. And then what is the secret? What is the privacy that is invaded? So under the Uniform Civil Code of Uttarakhand, we basically come to a conclusion that anybody who is having a living together relationship, come and register it. Tell that you people are staying here. What is your address? Where your family stays? Have you informed your family? All of the details we want. So many are telling now, no, it's a violation of Article 21. My privacy. High Court is like, what privacy? Anyway, you people are going to live openly. People around you, your friends around you, everybody will be knowing that it's a living together. It's not a marriage. So why is it that you want to hide it so much? Getting the point here. So how is this incrementalism? Because now what has happened is the government has finally understood the changing nature of society. Accordingly, they have made the law. Correct. To ensure that there is complete protection. So they have accepted living together as a reality. In relation to that, they made a slight change to the rules now. Earlier, marriages only has to be registered. Now you are asking living together relations also to get things registered. Integration. India-China militaries are implementing resolutions to end the Ladakh conflict. Chinese and Indian militaries are implementing the resolutions related to the border areas in a comprehensive and effective manner. All right, example. To resolve the Ladakh conflict. Trees axed for Kanwar Yatra route by UP government without final approval, FSI tells NGT. Thousands of trees were axed in Uttar Pradesh to make way for a new Kanwar route, Yatra route, not as per rules and without final approval, according to a report submitted to the National Green Tribunal by the Forest Survey of India. That means this clearly shows an absence of integration between Forest Survey of India and the UP government. UP government should have taken the Forest Survey of India to confidence before cutting down the trees. This also is a classic example of what? Conflict. Clear, people? Teams from L&T, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras and IIT Roorkee, who handled the Silkyara tunnel collapse in 2023, have joined the rescue operation along with various electronic gadgets in addition to Army, Navy, National Disaster Response Force, State Disaster Response Force and National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited personnel already involved in the operation. That is, how many organizations are involved? Larsen and Turbo, private company, IIT Madras, IIT Roorkee, then your Army, Navy, NDRF, SDRF, NHIDCL, National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited. All the agencies involved together in what? Tunnel rescue. Earlier it was Silkyara in Uttarakhand, now very recently in Telangana. South's top cybercrime officials to meet in Hyderabad in March. Again, a classic example of integration again. Because cybercrime is on the rise. That is the only reason. Hyderabad is gearing up to host a high-level cybercrime meeting in March, bringing together top police officials from southern states to strengthen interstate collaboration, identify critical loopholes, and develop efficient strategies to combat online frauds. Senior officials leading cybercrime investigations from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu will participate. Clear, people? Moving on. Members of the Kukizo community in Churachandpur district of Manipur surrendered 16 looted and illegal weapons on Saturday following an appeal by Governor Ajay Kumar Bhalla. So, they surrendered following the joint efforts of the Assam Rifles, state intelligence agencies, Central Reserve Police Force, and Manipur Police. So, again, an example of integration. You're asking the militants to come and lay down their weapons. AP, Telangana, Karnataka to solve water disputes amicably. Again, another classic example of integration. All of this you can use it to show wherever paper 1 coordination comes, paper 1 integration related question comes, you can give any of these as your examples. Clear, people? Moving on. 27 girls in Wallah died by suicide from 2012 to 2022, CBI. So, a total of 305 cases were filed in the region under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act during the decade. A large number of the inhabitants of the region are poor and illiterate who pay less attention to their children and are unaware of the legal safeguards for children and the implications of the violation of law. So here again, CBI is acting as an integrating body. How so? This Wallah case is also very interesting because two girls from the same family committed suicide and they were too young. So the doubt is that it is not a case of suicide, it is a case of murder because if you look at the data, 27 minor girls died by suicide in the Wallah region of Kerala between 2012 and 2022. So CBI is doing that particular role right now to coordinate between the government as well as with the judiciary to bring a clarity to this case. I know it is a little far-fetched when we talk about as an integrating body. But the idea here is CBI is bringing clarity. Government is not helpless. Judiciary is also not able to take a stand in this case. So CBI is doing that work there. Standing there, investigating it and bringing in coordination. Center holds consultation with states on setting up biomanufacturing facilities. Again, integration. Organizational goals. Focus will be on accelerating disposal of cases. Central Bureau of Investigation Director Praveen Sood on Thursday said 2024 witnessed high disposal of about 1,400 investigation cases in the agency, while about 900 fresh cases were registered during the year. This is the organizational goal, that is, dispose of maximum cases as possible. Clearly shows what every organization should have its goal, and whatever goals is being set out, it should be within what? The zone of indifference or acceptance. Clear? Differentiation. NAC removes 900 peer assessors from evaluation duty after detecting irregularities. Once again, it is about NAC. Like I told you already in our earlier example, that differentiation is not the final solution if you have corruption allegations there, if unethical conduct is there. Classic example of this. But the good thing is NAC is taking accountability. NAC is ensuring that whoever is involved in some wrongdoing, they are removed from it. Data point. Now, data point is all about data's what we get in the newspaper. which you can use not just in your GS paper 2, but even in your GS paper 1 with regard to society, GS paper 3, as well as in your essay. And definitely in our optional. Employment participation, 15 to 59 age group, if you see, participation wise, 70% in 2019. For men, if you see, it has increased. Women also, if you see, from little about 20%, it is now close to what? 25%. Disrupted connection. 296 internet shutdowns happened globally in 2024, and India's cumulative 84 curbs accounted for 28% of this. 84 curbs means to shut down internet completely. So, we almost contribute to 30% of global internet shutdowns. Myanmar at 85, India at 84, followed by Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, Palestine, Bangladesh, Iraq, Jordan, and Sudan. Iraq, Jordan, and Sudan. So if you actually look at the list here, we are amongst some of the most underdeveloped nations in the world. And we are only, what is it? We're giving a close competition to a military regime like Myanmar, and the other countries are equally, what is it? Pathetic. So automatically some may say, how is India in this list? How is India among these countries? But the reason is what? We have very unstable neighborhood. And it is very important that we control the internet. Otherwise, things will go out of hand. Fewer shutdowns happened in India in 2024 than in the previous year. India imposed 5 examination-related shutdowns ahead of key exams in 2024. Citing the World Social Protection Report 2024-26, the Director General of the International Labour Organization, Gilbert F. Hongbo, said that the proportion of India's population covered under at least one branch of social protection has increased from 24% to 45%, almost doubling in a very short time. At least one social protection has doubled. Clear. So this is finally what we can categorize as a good news. BSNL's revenue from operations 2006 to 2024. What do we see? BSNL's revenue is actually dropping. From 36,138 crore, it has dropped to 19,330 crore. Total expenses from 2006 to 2024. Almost 32,000 to 35,000. Okay, 32,500 to, it increased to 34,406. But of late, what is happening? Dropped down to 26,673 crore in the last few years. Chart shows BSNL's revenue from sales of wired and wireless services from 2006 to 2024. BSNL's revenue from sales. If you look at it, wired services have declined. Similarly, we actually see it is almost the same. Wireless service. Why? It was slowly climbing up here and afterwards it started declining before picking up again. Reason being the impact of Geo. BSNL's revenue from the sales of broadband services and fiber to the home. Broadband services, again, it increased initially and then started dropping. Fiber to the home services, if you see, that is on the rise. Overall, what can we say? Not so great. Days are not far away where we will have to either shut it down or privatize it completely. Getting the point here. It is a good news that the expenditure has come down. But otherwise, if you look at the overall sales and revenue generation terms, if you see, it is not at all good. So as per one, if one were to go by the management by objective, revenue is very poor here. Why should I still keep running this? Clear, people? The chart shows the number of employees at BSNL between 2014 and 2024. From close to 2.5 lakh, it has come down to what? It has come down to 57,656, which is much in tune with what is happening globally, reducing the size of the bureaucracy or reducing the size of the government. Great. So, expenses, if you see, license and spectrum fee has come down. Employee benefit expenses have gone down. Finance cost has gone down or almost the same. Depreciation and amortization has gone down. Other expenses also, there is a slight decrease. Overall, the expenses have gone down. Great. BSNL's revenue from leased lines and leased infrastructure. Leased lines and leased infrastructure means you are giving it on rent basis to other service providers. And there, if you see, leased lines, revenue has increased. Leased income, that also has gone up. That is not from the sales, not from any other revenue, by leasing it out to other private players. Chart shows the Indian wireless subscriber market share between 2005 and 2024. In that, again, if you see, BSNL is at the lowest. Highest lead is taken by Jio, closely followed by Bharti Airtel, then by Vodafone Idea, then at the bottom you have at 8.2 BSNL. Clear, people? The study was prepared by the Indian Institute of Public Administration after having been commissioned by the Union Ministry of Panchayati Raj. It also talks of women's quota, which has been mentioned as 57.3% at the overall level. Table shows the details of elected representatives of rural local bodies across the state. Number of panchayats at each level, 12,525, 388 block, 36 districts. So, women representatives, if you see, 56% are presidents, 57% are ward members, 58% are panchayat union ward member, 55% are district panchayat ward member. So 20% you have SC representatives under the same 19, 15, 16. ST representatives 1%, very, very low. 0.3%, very low again. 0.7%, 1%. The table shows the percentage of OBCs among elected representatives in rural local bodies. 12.16, 15.42, 17.25, 12.39. That means from the lower communities, OBCs, SC, STs, they have very low representation in local governance. You can use this data to show the underrepresentation that is happening even with rural local bodies. Clear? Overall unemployment rate in urban India over time, it is dropping from as high as 6.5, has come down to 6.4. Just informations, people. Unemployment rate by gender, urban areas, October to December 2024, men around less than 5.8%, women it is above 8. Highest and lowest unemployment rates by state, urban areas. Highest unemployment rate, Himachal Pradesh, greater than 10%. This is around 3% in Gujarat. Labor force participation rate over time, From 39.2 percentage, it has gone up to 39.6 percentage. July to December 2024, it has remained what? Stable. Employment categories in urban areas 2024. Regular wage or salaried employees constitutes 49.4 percentage. 10.7 percentage is casual labor. 30. 1 minute. Okay. Close to 40 percentage is what? Self-employed. Clear? Just information, just data these are. You can use it for your society-based questions that will come in paper 1. Sector-wise employment in urban areas. Maximum obviously will come from where? Tertiary sector, followed by mining and then agriculture. So this is around 5.5 percentage. 62 plus 5, 67, 68.2. Higher education spending by states. This is again a report by the Niti Aayog. 8.11% of GDP by J&K, followed by that Manipur, then Meghalaya, Tripura, Karnataka at 2, Telangana at 2, Delhi at 1.67. Karnataka's education budget allocation for higher education, it is just 30%. For school education, it is 70%. Gross enrollment ratio in higher education from a peak of 47%, that is Tamil Nadu, Karnataka it is 36.2, national average is 28.4. Share of transaction volumes of various payment methods in total retail digital payments in 2024. UPI constitutes today 82.96% of all the digital transactions. UPI values increased from 18.37 lakh crore to 246.83 lakh crore between 2019 and 2024. UPI payments volume in crore and bar graph shows UPI payments value in rupees lakh crore. So this is how it has been increasing, the volume. All right, the bar graph talks about the value, 130 lakh crore. Moving on. Rent seeking behavior. High Court quashes notice of contract termination to French firm by MMRDA, government orders probe. The Bombay High Court on Tuesday quashed a contract termination notice issued by Mumbai Metropolitan Region Development Authority on January 3rd this year to French consultancy firm Sistra MVA Consulting Private Limited. The firm awarded the contract to provide design consultancy services for 3 metro lines in Mumbai, had accused several officials of the MMRDA of corruption in connection with metro projects. They were already awarded the contract. And just to do their work, they have to start giving bribe. So they made an allegation. So the contract itself got terminated now. Rent-seeking behavior of bureaucrats. Informal groups. Many state government officers in Tamil Nadu, including those in the state capital, wore a deserted look on Tuesday, with many employees going on mass casual leave as part of a call for agitation given by Joint Action Council of Tamil Nadu Teachers Organizations, Government Employee Organization. Members of the two organizations staged a demonstration at AD Lagam complex in Chennai, exerting pressure on the state government to consider their charter of demands. Clearly shows informal groups how they can actually twist the government these days to listen to their demands. Then radical Métis Group 6 border fencing, Manipur NRC, return of ST status. Representatives of the armed radical Métis outfit Arambai Tengol 80 on Tuesday met Manipur Governor Ajay Kumar Bhalla and submitted a memorandum seeking border fencing, implementation of the NRC with 1951 as cutoff, and no arrest or legal action against village volunteers, including members of AT. Again, we are indulging with this informal group, although very armed and dangerous. Why? To bring in some semblance of peace in the Manipur region. Once again, the importance of informal groups and why it is very important to deal with such people to ensure peace and stability in the region. Few more examples. Tribals who lived in the Simlipal tiger reserve in Odisha for generations before their relocation say the rights to continue their age-old rituals and worship of their deities in the sacred groves in the forest have been denied for the first time. Again, government has to have this informal discussion with the tribals also to ensure that there is peace in that region. Disability rights activists in Delhi are building a coalition to get a key provision of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 dropped or amended. Section 9(1) of the Act has clubbed children with persons with disabilities to mandate that even in cases of disabled adults who are legal guardians, consent for use of any personal data must be obtained from the guardian concerned. Disability rights experts and policy think tanks have argued that this infantilizes PWDs, stems from a misunderstood notion of their guardianship, and negates the decision-making capacity of PWDs recognized by the rights of the PWD Act 2016. That means people with physical disabilities, they should get consent from their guardian, just like children. So the rights group activists are telling that how can you say that somebody with disability and a child are one and the same? You're taking away their decision-making power. So that is why they want a change. Disability right activists. A database on the biodiversity of Puducherry, Villupuram, Auroville, Kadalur bioregion is on the anvil with citizen science data collected by citizens and students playing a major role in the process. That is making a note of all the vulnerable species and preparing an atlas for the same. Getting the point here. How are they doing it? Using citizens and other wildlife enthusiasts. Bird watchers and volunteers to develop a Hyderabad bird atlas, a 3-year project involving volunteers. All these are again examples for what? Importance of informal groups in a society. Clear? Madiga delegation calls on Telangana CM over lapses in SC categorization report. Again, scheduled caste. So they are asking the CM with regard to the lapses that has happened in the scheduled caste report. Activists seek more support for disabled NEET applicants. Again, with regard to disability. Disability right activists have written to the National Medical Commission, the regulatory body that governs medical education and practice in India, asking for steps to facilitate measures that will support students with disabilities prior to the release of the NEET 2025-26 brochure. Clear? So all these are again informal groups. Systems theory. India will accept a Taliban-appointed diplomat to head the Afghanistan embassy in Delhi. Speakers at a conference of prominent Afghan exiles urged New Delhi to not normalize its engagement with the regime in Kabul. That means today we are going to officially, that is, the days are not far away, where we will be dealing officially with the Taliban in Afghanistan. Those days are not very far away. Why? Because that is what the new feedback from the environment is. On top of it, if we need to keep Pakistan under control, we need to engage with Taliban. We have no other go. New feedback from the environment. Accordingly, we should develop our system. Next, CBSE lets schools open play schools and kindergartens on their premises. Getting the point here. Why? Change in system. Because parents will always find it difficult. Put in play school till a particular age. Then look for kindergarten in another school. Then from there, shift to the main school. It's always a headache. Rather than that, if everything is in the same school, It's easy for the parents also. From a small age, the child is in the same place. Getting the idea here. Quota Cares initiative rolls out steps to support students in coaching hub. To tackle stress among students preparing for competitive exams and the rise in case of suicide, the district administration of Kota on Monday announced a comprehensive set of reforms for student welfare in the premier coaching hub in Rajasthan. Again, because Kota is known for what? That is, if you send your child to Kota, he will crack the NEET exam or the GATE exam, whatever. That is a belief. But along with that, what has increased these days is the number of suicides, because once they go there, they are unable to handle the pressure. They are unable to handle the stress and they come to suicide. So district administration is taking proactive measures to ensure that suicide rates are dropped. Again, systems theory. The Chhattisgarh government has implemented the new Shops and Establishment Act that allows traders to keep their shops open 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. New policy was implemented to boost trade and create new employment opportunities, while noting that the rule would not be applicable for liquor shops. What is it again? Systems theory. You want to boost your economy, you make changes accordingly. The Information and Broadcasting Ministry is examining the existing statutory provisions and the need for a new legal framework to regulate harmful content on digital platforms, indicating the government's move to sharpen its vigilance over them following an outcry over Ranveer Allahabadia's comments on a YouTube program. Again, when it comes to these online digital content, we can see one thing, that they show everything very explicitly. When it comes to vulgar words, vulgar scenes, or explicit sexual content, they just show it out there. So that is the reason why now the government is also thinking some conditions should be kept there as to what can be displayed and what cannot be. Getting the point here. But two arguments to this again. Isn't it not policing? Entertainment is something which should be a personal choice. An individual should be able to decide what they want to watch, what they want to listen to. Micromanaging this is not the job of the government, because ultimately every adult is responsible for their own choice. To think that no adult is responsible, only government can say what is the do and what is the not, will actually lead to what? Censorship. So here, if government feels tomorrow, oh, this particular web series, this is against our ideology, we are going to put censor on it, that will not work. Getting the point, people? Moving on. On pleas from parents and students, Ekalavya schools to go English medium from class 9th. After multiple representation from students of Ekalavya model residential schools and their parents, National Education Society for Tribal Students has issued a circular introducing English medium of instruction in all EMRS from class 9 beginning the next year. Clear, people? So why they are asking for English? Because they want also to compete with the globalized world. They also want to be part of it. And once the demand came from the students or the feedback came from the students, curriculum got changed. Clear? Neither ecologically sustainable nor ethical. New study expresses concern over translocation of African cheetahs. That is, African cheetahs, whatever we have brought towards India, it has been found according to a study that they are highly stressed. See, we can bring the cheetahs thinking that we can fool the cheetahs. Okay, Africa is as same as India, etc. I understand. The intention behind it is pretty good. The fact of the matter is nobody is asking the cheetah also, right? Are they happy to come to a different area? Animals will very quickly sense it when they are in a different area. Very easily. They are, because cheetah, lion, leopard, etc. These are very, very territorial animals. The moment they step outside their territory, they will get to know. And this will create fear, this will create anxiety, releasing stress hormones, which will affect their heart and their functioning. Translocation of African cheetahs to India has resulted in significant challenges, with a mortality rate of 40 to 50% in the first phase of the project, far below the expected survival. The CWS also said that the cheetahs involved in the project have experienced high levels of stress with over 90 chemical immobilizations and regular veterinary interventions, raising concerns about their physical and mental health. Clear, people? To boost investment, Kerala government plans to grant industry status to its tourism sector. Granting industry status will encourage more investment and development in the sector, which contributes around 10% of the GDP of the state. Though an announcement in this regard was expected during the budget presentation, Finance Minister K.N. Balagopal mentioned such a plan during the discussion on the budget in the assembly. Again, systems theory only. Railways will build permanent holding areas in up to 60 heavy rush stations. Why? The Kumbh Mela stampede. Agricultural pump sets manufactured by the organized sector are losing out to kit or unbranded pumps made in the unorganized sector because of the 18% GST being levied on them for the last 3 years, says manufacturers in Coimbatore. So pump sets are that. Branded pump sets carry 18% GST. But if I go to a local shop and ask them to make one and give it to me, zero money for that. Why? It's just a kit. Resembles like a pump, works like a pump. No branding, nothing, no packaging, nothing. So no GST. People will go for that. Getting the point here. Local militant recruitment down in Kashmir. Pak agents driving terror activities. Number of local youth entering militancy has fallen from about 160 in 2020 to just 20 in 2024. Clear evidence of what? The feedback, whatever we are getting now, it shows that militancy is down in Kashmir, or rather, it is fast decreasing. US pushes for more defense deals, offers F-35 fighter aircraft to India. Why? I will scratch your back, you scratch my back. USA wants to improve the defense deals because they know what India really needs. And they are pushing for exports. Improve the trade deals. Bring India more closer to USA. Getting the point here. Moving on. As part of energy partnership, US designed nuclear reactors to be built in India. Just a minute. Again, same thing only. US designed nuclear reactors will be built in India, which will also encourage what? Local manufacturing. Changing times, changing circumstances, getting closer and closer with India to improve the economy in both the countries. India may review Singapore's call for raising flight quota. India is now open to reviewing Singapore's request for a liberalized air service agreement, potentially allowing more flights and expanded access to Indian airports, a shift from its stance in recent years. Why we didn't allow it earlier? Earlier we didn't allow it because it would have affected Indian domestic airlines. If Singapore companies are coming in with their aircraft, etc., obviously they are punctual, they are more professional, people will opt for it. It will affect our companies here. Now government is rethinking this decision. Why? To improve connectivity, to improve the economy. The Immigration and Foreigners Bill 2025, which is expected to be introduced in the current session of Parliament, is likely to introduce for the first time threat to national security and sovereignty as grounds to deny entry or stay to a foreign national in the country. It may also have provisions to bar the entry of a foreigner on basis of relations with a foreign state. Again, feedback from the system, that is not to give visa to people who can affect the sovereignty, integrity, or even the internal security of the country. Clear, people? Moving on. FM unveils Income Tax Bill 2025 in Lok Sabha that seeks to simplify compliance. We are still awaiting more details on this. But the most important criteria here in this bill, I will tell you what it is. As per this bill now, tax officials can access your Instagram account, your Facebook account, basically any of your social media account to see what you are, to understand your profiling there. What profiling? How are you spending money? Because there are people who have a nice, rich, luxurious profile in Instagram, but when it comes to taxes, they hardly pay even 1 rupee tax. As usual, many people are telling this is a clear violation of their fundamental rights, right to privacy, Puttaswamy judgment, etc. But changing times requires what? Changing laws. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about if you're paying your taxes. Getting the point here. Moving on. Army has to evolve new concepts to align with emerging trends. Chief of Defense Staff. Why? To align with technology, especially with artificial intelligence. All right. Try tightens rules against spam calls and text messages. So, customers will be able to identify the type of commercial messages by looking at its header as P, S, T, and G will be suffixed for identification of promotional, service, transactional, and government messages respectively. In addition to this, now for all the spam calls that we get, the number will be different. No more, it will be 10 digits. So the moment it is a spam call, the digits will be lesser than 10. These are some of the methodologies that are being adopted by Try now to ensure or to bring the spam calls and the scam ones under check. Gold smuggling has reduced after import duty cut. Import duty, which has been reduced to 6%. And since then, the smuggling has dropped down drastically. Again, systems theory. TN bars minors from engaging with real money games. How? Aadhaar verification is required. Whoever is indulging in any game, Aadhaar verification is required. Then followed by a secondary layer of verification again to ensure that it is a person more than 18 years old who is playing it. Plus, after every half an hour also, there will be a pop-up coming up to warn them that you have been playing this game for more than half an hour. You should take rest now, etc. Clear? One picture. Correct. Now you also will be wondering, why did I put an elephant here? Now, what if I told you this is not a real elephant? It is an electronic elephant. This is not a real elephant, by the way. This is an electronic elephant. This is what is going to be used for processions. Already it is in use. Because if you have to bring a normal elephant there are a lot of conditions involved in it. Rather than that, you need an elephant. Keep it symbolic. Systems theory again. Getting the point. Rather than go through the plethora of rules, the conditions, ensure the proper diet, the health, have a veterinary doctor, everything on site. This is easy. One battery, few motor, little bit of designing. You can keep using this forever. Only that initial cost will be there. Maintenance cost is very, very less. You don't have to wash it. You don't have to feed it. Nothing. No question of elephant ran amok among the crowd. 2 people got killed. No such thing. Karnataka plans ordinance to stop repayment of loans to unlicensed MFIs. Why? Because of the number of suicides that have increased. Unlicensed microfinance institutions have been indulging in a lot of lending activities, especially to poor households, and charging exorbitant interest rates. When these people fail to pay this money, then they are threatened with gundas or rowdies. Many of them committed suicide. The suicide rate kept on increasing, where government has finally decided that, let us say, if I have taken money from unlicensed MFI, I need not pay it back. They have also given police full powers, that is, do whatever is necessary. Look at the next one. Police will get more powers to curb torture by lending firms. D.K. Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka. Systems theory again. Clear? Legislature. J&K Speaker warns against publicizing adjournment motions. Jammu and Kashmir Speaker Abdul Rahim Rathar on Monday warned of action against opposition parties that make notices of questions, adjournment motions, resolutions, etc. public ahead of assembly proceedings. Rule 368 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in J&K Legislative Assembly provides that notice shall not be given publicity by any member or other person until it has been admitted by the speaker and circulated to members. Don't give publicity to these things even before it has been sent to the speaker. Then, House panel questioned the government on the impact of corporate tax cut introduced 5 years ago. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, during a 6-hour meeting, questioned the government. That is, you have reduced the corporate tax. What has been the impact in the Indian economy because of it? Whether the corporate tax cuts introduced in September 2019 had increased private investment. Purpose of any legislature is what? To ensure that the government, the executive, is held responsible. Classic example. Then, Home Ministry faced criticism for inefficiency during a meeting of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, as opposition members flagged the underutilization of funds allocated for critical areas such as the Nirbhaya Fund for women's safety schemes and prison modernization. They also pointed out that there has been no significant budgetary allocation to conduct the long overdue census. Again, data with regard to it, you can go through it. Classic example again, why we need parliamentary standing committees, what is its relevance? Because if this body is not there to question the government, accountability from the side of the government will go down. Continuing, private bills seek sitting of parliament for 100 days a year. We have seen this already in my public administration class. So they are telling now that parliament should sit at least for minimum 100 days. Private member bill has been put forward. All right. Mr. O'Brien said while the idea of fixed calendar was explored by the General Purposes Committee of the Lok Sabha in 1955, the importance of having a minimum number of sittings was highlighted by the National Commission to review the working of the Constitution in 2002, enhancing the performance of the Parliament through fixing a minimum number of days of sitting, introducing the provision for extending the hours of a sitting, bringing a short session in addition to the existing 3 sessions, instituting a mechanism to separately discuss opposition business, and compensating the hours not utilized due to disruptions. These are some of the demands. Clear, people? Moving on. Public Accounts Committee are sent to review toll tax rule for National Highway. Public Accounts Committee asked the government to review the existing rules that decide the toll tax on the National Highway. Deliberations on the subject of levy and regulation of fees, tariffs, user charges, etc. on public infrastructure and other public utilities. Average of rupees 57 lakh spent by each candidate on Lok Sabha poll campaign, election campaign. All these are data with regard to what? The performance of our legislature. Clear, people? Again, very important from paper 2 perspective. Panel recommends comprehensive security assessment of Indian posts. A parliamentary panel has recommended that Minister of External Affairs should conduct a comprehensive security assessment of all missions and posts of India. That means the embassies which are there in other parts of the world, taking into account the geopolitical situation, potential threats and vulnerabilities in host countries. In its report, the Committee on External Affairs has also noted that India currently lacks resident missions in 42 countries. That means there is a very good probability that in the future, number of vacancies for IFS can go up. A special session of the Telangana Legislative Assembly will be held on Tuesday to discuss the report of the Comprehensive Social, Economic, Educational, Employment, Political and Caste Survey. The special session has been convened to adopt a resolution urging the Union government to enhance the reservation for the backward classes in line with their population. Getting the point here? That means already they have conducted almost like a caste survey. It has been conducted in Telangana. Now they are going to discuss it. For that, a special session will be held to discuss what? Social, economic, educational, employment, political and caste survey. Then they are going to pass a resolution asking the government to pass a law increasing the reservation of the backward community according to their proportion in the population. This will obviously lead to what? Push the central government towards conducting the survey or rather the census. Clear? NPS or network governance or participative management. Microsoft's Farm Vibes makes impact on Baramati agriculture sector through AI. Classic example of what? Classic example of including Microsoft and AI in governance. Airport project TN to provide relief for local landowners. The Tamil Nadu government is finalizing a compensation package for the people who will be affected by the proposed second airport project for Chennai at Parandur in Kanchipuram district. Again, another example of what? Network governance or participative management. You're working with the people to come out with a solution. New public service. Turning a page in Malayalam in cyberspace, devoted to Malayalam language and its literature, open website talilakam.in, started in the year 2020, has a vast collection of useful resources for teachers, students, and language lovers. So, again, an example of what? Network governance, because people, not just government is directly involved, individuals and volunteers are involved here. Almost like our informal group example only. Sugar exports helped in clearing arrears to cane farmers, says Miller's Body. Barely a month after the centre's decision to allow the export of 10 lakh tons of sugar, the Indian Sugar and Bioenergy Manufacturers Association has claimed that almost 21,096 crore of arrears due to sugarcane farmers have been paid. Means, once the farmers were allowed, the mill owners were allowed to export the sugar, whatever money they got, with that they were able to clear the arrears. That is the money that they were supposed to pay to the farmers, sugarcane farmers, they were able to pay it. Once again, what is it? Participative management, because government is involved, farmers are involved, millers are involved. What is the best decision for all the three? Government took it. I agree. You can even put systems theory here as an example, because government took the feedback, government understood there is too much of arrears. Government took the call, okay, export the sugar, get the money, recover it. Done. The beauty of public administration is that one example can be used in multiple areas. Getting the point here, people. Moving on. Defense Ministry on Thursday signed 2 contracts with 1,917.47 crore for the procurement of 149 software-defined radios for ICG and 1,868 rough terrain forklift trucks for the 3 services. The contract for 149 SDRs is with Defense Public Sector Undertaking Bharat Electronics Limited. All right. ACE Limited and JCB India Limited. All of this is what? Involvement of PSU and private entities together. Again, example of NPS or network governance or participative management. Center revamps websites, creates multilingual AI hub for better scheme outreach. Why? So that in any language you can access the details. Again, trying to make it what? New public service, making it more involved for the people. Governance. Rights group flags lack of transparency in internet shutdown. I agree. You can use this even with as informal groups. Example, you can also use this as an involvement of the fact that we are ready to take feedback from multiple people. So automatically, what is this? This is obviously network governance. Telangana minister invites Open AI CEO to visit Hyderabad. So it is no more the olden days where I am the minister, I will decide everything. No, minister is openly inviting the Open AI CEO to come visit Hyderabad and see the infrastructure that we have here. Basically trying to attract business. It's basically clear example of what? Not just NPS, but also NPM. NPM. Invest Kerala Global Summit. Firms continue to make proposals even after conclave concludes. Expression of interest for 1.52 lakh crore. That is the amount of investments that Kerala was able to attract through their Invest Kerala Global Summit. Trying to bring investors into Kerala. Classic example of NPM. Enforcement Directorate on Friday issued an adjudication order levying a penalty of over 3.44 crore on BBC World Services India, along with a fine of 5,000 per day after October 15, 2021, till the date of compliance for the alleged violation of FEMA. Means, just because you bring a private player doesn't mean that everything will be great. That is efficiency, economy, effectiveness. We must still ensure that they are all working as per the compliances or compliances according what the Indian law mandates. Here it did not happen. We have fined them. Who has done it? ED. ED searches multiple locations in Kerala in CSR fund scam, corporate social responsibility fund scam. Again, clearly indicating that NPM is not always the solution. When you bring in NPM, you need to bring in proper rules, regulation, plus bodies like ED to see whether all the organizations, so-called private organizations, are functioning according to the rules of the country. Amazon Web Services booked for mismanagement of data. Again, another example for what? Drawback of NPM or drawback of having private players. Karnataka gets investment proposals of over 10 lakh crore at Global Meet. Clearly shows that when it comes to investment, people prefer Karnataka more. No doubt about it. High Court permits Adani Electricity to cut mangroves for project. We deem it appropriate to confer the desired permission by taking into consideration the importance of the project to the public at large. What is the importance of the project to the public at large? Getting the point here. That is, project electricity anyway we are getting, so it is okay to cut the trees. So what are we valuing here more? Provision of basic infrastructure over environmental sustainability. Getting the point here. So it is always a tough call between, as rightfully held by the Supreme Court, development versus environment. Kerala Cabinet gives nod to draft bill for private universities. That is, private universities will be brought into the state. This is to ensure that the youthful population in the state do not move to other states or outside the country for higher education. A trend which is very, like it is increasing year on year in the state of Kerala. Clear, people? Vietnam aims at cutting public sector jobs / government budgets. That is to make things more efficient. What Vietnam is going to do? Vietnam is aiming to cut 1 in 5 public sector jobs. That means around 20% cut. / billions of dollars from government budgets, mirroring US President Donald Trump's push to take a hatchet to spending. Of these cuts, 1 lakh people will be made redundant or offered early retirement. A bloated bureaucracy is also seen as a brake on growth, as is a high-profile anti-corruption campaign that has slowed everyday transactions. Bureaucracy size as it increases, it is seen as a negative harbinger for growth. Plus, on top of it, when you have a very massively publicized anti-corruption drive, bureaucrats will generally hesitate to take any risky decision. So basically, what is the nutshell? Cutting down of bureaucracy. Why? Because that is what even NPM, public choice theory or public choice approach, managerialism, etc. talks about. Re-engineering, etc. Everything talks about the same thing. Clear, people? Reaganism, Thatcherism, all of that. Executive. Health Ministry bans export of drugs containing tapentadol and carisoprodol. Both the drugs is included in the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. That means they can be easily used for making synthetic drugs. This is why government took this decision. Again, what? Systems theory. XR Creator Hackathon throws open opportunities for myriad aspirants. Born with a club foot, a postgraduate from Chennai was no stranger to mobility challenges and societal biases. Despite holding 2 extended reality patents, he struggled to find opportunities in the industry. However, the XR Creator Hackathon, organized under the Information Broadcasting Ministry WAVES initiative, has provided him with a platform to showcase his talent. So, XR means we know it's like a version of your reality, extended reality. So, a scheme has been introduced by the Ministry of Broadcasting called WAVES, under which the extended reality technology is being explored. So, what does this show? Government taking initiatives, looking much ahead into the future. Pre-planning, policy formulation, focusing on what is needed in the future. Clear? Stricter land laws in Uttarakhand as cabinet gives nod to Bhu Kanun. Why? Because people from outside are rather buying the precious land, converting it for other purposes, which is affecting the stability of the region. Getting the point here. So, government finally had to pass a law like that. The Uttarakhand cabinet. Details, you can see it over here. But again, it is what? Systems theory. Taking action to ensure that the environment is protected. Clear, people? Moving on. NGT pulls up UPPCB over report without adequate info. For not submitting adequate information to the court, including fecal coliform levels in river water in Prayagraj during Mahakumbh. It is interesting to note that even after so many years, post-corp, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, it is still not followed properly by many of the government departments. Vice President questions involvement of Chief Justice in executive appointments. Why they are involved? Judiciary should involve only in matters of judiciary. Why judiciary is involved even in executive appointments like that of Central Bureau of Investigation Director? Why should judiciary be involved in it? Because executive is not getting involved in appointment of judiciary, then why is judiciary getting involved here? A very valid point. Getting the point here. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if the government actually brings a law which actually starts putting the brakes on the so-called excessive independence that the Indian judiciary has. That is, nobody should question us. We will decide our matters. We will appoint our judges. That's not done right. When you're taking salary from the people of India, you cannot do everything that you feel is right. Some regulation should be there. Because this practice, whatever we have in our country, the way judiciary is practicing in our country, you will not find an example like it anywhere else. Homework for you people, find out what is the system, how judiciary works in UK and USA, or at least try to find out how judges are appointed in USA and UK. President's rule imposed in Manipur days after CM's exit. Why President's rule was imposed there? Because after CM Biren Singh left, they were not able to find an alternative. So President's rule has been imposed there as of now in Manipur. Moving on. Karnataka governor signs ordinance to rein in lending firms. This is the same news what I told you earlier. That is, the law has been brought out, whereby which it has been made very strict, highly punishable offense if an unregistered microfinance institution gives away money and uses coercive measure on the borrowers to pay that money back. Clear? Will not be reclaiming funds disbursed under Ladki Bahin scheme, says minister. Beneficiaries of the Maharashtra government's flagship scheme dropped from 2.46 crore in December 2024 to 2.41 crore in January 2025 following the identification of 5 lakh ineligible women. In the first article, what we discussed in our news, we saw more than 11,000 applicants were fake. In the Ladki Bahin scheme, more than 5 lakh people were ineligible. Imagine the amount of money dispersed and imagine the loss for the government. So, minister actually promised, no, whatever money we gave, that we are not going to take back. But whoever are ineligible will not get money anymore. This is the problem with freebies. This is the problem when you don't put a proper system in place. Everybody knows just to announce a freebie. What are the conditions? What are the sub-legislation involved in it? That is, legislation is there, law is there. Okay, I'm going to give this much money for free. How are you going to implement it if that is not put in place? Subordinate legislation is not put in place, then it will lead to confusion and obviously serious wastage. 450 crore has been disbursed under the initiative. Prime Minister's Office, Shaktikant Das appointed Principal Secretary to the PM. Just information only. PSU. Dividends from CPSEs like to surpass revised estimates, but lowest in 4 years. There are 272 operating CPSEs, out of which 212 reported a net profit of 3.43 lakh crore in financial year 2023-24, which is around 48% higher than 2.18 lakh crore during 2022-23. Dividends declared by operating CPSEs in financial year 2023-24 stood at 1.23 lakh crore against 1 lakh crore in financial year 22-23, showing an increase of over 16%. Since there are just 66 CPSEs listed on stock exchanges, the entire dividend of large number of CPSEs goes only to the government. Irrespective of lowest in 4 years, etc., the public sector enterprises are showing improvement in their functioning. CPSEs belonging to 3 sectors, oil, coal and power, are expected to continue as top contributors in the dividend payout. Just statistics, important for our chapter 3. The agreement between HALES UK and Bharat Dynamics Limited for the supply of laser beam riding man-portable air defense, very short-range air defense missiles and launchers to the Indian Army will be executed under the emergency procurement route, and a limited volumes of launchers and missiles will be supplied this year. Clear example of what? Collaboration. Foreign player and Indian player. Indian PSU. Whale Safran announced venture for precision guided weapon. Defense public sector undertaking Bharat Electronics Limited and Safran Electronics and Defense of France. Again, national and international collaboration in the defense sector. PSUs. Kerala school facing closure gets Supreme Court aid. The Supreme Court on Tuesday came to the rescue of a 26-year-old Kendriya Vidyalaya, which was threatened with closure in Kerala. It was sponsored by National Thermal Power Corporation at its project site at Kayamkulam in 1999. This was a very old habit. That is, whenever a PSU is being opened, surrounding it you will have homes, schools, etc. So when NTPC opened a branch out in power plant in Kayamkulam, they also had opened a school there, and they were the sponsors for it. But what has happened? Only 18 children of NTPC employees study at the school. Remaining are not from NTPC. They are from other areas. The NTPC is like, we cannot fund this anymore. However, the court noted that there were over 510 other students plus teaching and non-teaching staff there. Case is again listed for March 25th. We'll wait for the final verdict. Contracts were inked with Economic Explosives Limited and Munitions India Limited for the procurement of area denial munition type 1 and high explosive pre-fragmented Mk1 rockets respectively for Pinaka MRLS. A contract for upgrades in Shakti software has also been signed with Bharat Electronics Limited, again another PSU. When it comes to PSU, very rarely we get news articles related to it. Most of it, if you notice, is related to what? It is actually related to defense sector. Bureaucracy. As crowds swelled, review meeting on safety kept top railway officials busy. That means, in the railway station, we know a stampede occurred during Kumbh. Why? Because when the crowd was going on increasing, what were the railway officials doing? We can ask them, right? Where were you people? Busy attending a meeting to review the safety. That is the irony. When they were busy trying to review, okay, what about the safety measures, etc., people's number are increasing there, people are dying there. This is the issue. Now, is it bad to keep a review meeting? No, because you need to know where things stand, correct? Other than doing a meeting, there is no other way. But when we try to do that, what is the end result? You had a catastrophe. So, where to draw the balance? Not at all easy. Just not confident of HAL, says IAF chief over delivery delays. Not surprising that he made such a statement, considering the fact that it took more than 32 years just to build a light combat aircraft called Tejas by the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Delay is the main reason. And delay is, unfortunately, another synonym associated with bureaucracy. Technology. AI-enabled cameras in Simlipal Tiger Reserve sent poaching plummeting. Plummeting means reducing. Digitization doesn't mean deregulation. So what V. Ananta Nageshwaran, who is the chief economic advisor, is telling is, just because you converted something from physical to online doesn't mean it is deregulated. Deregulation means you are bringing down the norms, you're bringing down the strict rules, etc. You're making things more easier. So when you go online, things should become easier. Not that what you used to do physical, now you are doing it online. No. Clear? AI-aided technology to monitor SSLC examinations this year in Karnataka, just to ensure that the students are not copying, etc. Not that everywhere this system will be there. Only in a few selected centers, you will have AI-enabled cameras. So that the moment any student is copying or something, the camera will trigger it. Clear? Local governance. Very important topic. Government begins survey to set up daycare cancer centers. A nationwide survey to assess gaps in district hospitals, which will now facilitate the upcoming daycare cancer centers. That is the purpose of it. What are the gaps in the hospitals when it comes to cancer centers in the country? For that, they are going to do what? Do a survey for all the district hospitals. Overall devolution index score of top states. Karnataka, the highest, followed by Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, UP, and then Gujarat. Needless to say, southern states are faring well. Top states in finance dimension, if you see, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan. That means Karnataka and Kerala are doing really well when it comes to giving funds to local governments. Top states in accountability dimension, again Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, UP. Top states in function dimension, Tamil Nadu, then Karnataka, then Odisha, then Rajasthan. Top states in framework dimension, Kerala, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Haryana. Framework means basically the whole structure of administration, etc. That is what it is. I'll just briefly tell the other ones also. Finances, how much money you have given. How are you ensuring the accountability of the local government? What functions are being done by the local bodies? In that, best is Tamil Nadu. Framework wise, it is best in Kerala. Functionaries, again, best is Gujarat. Last one, in terms of capacity building, Telangana is doing well. Getting the point here? Overall, you see Karnataka, Kerala. In other ones, mostly Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu, then Gujarat, then Telangana, and yes, even Kerala is there. Clear, people? RTI. So this I already told you, over 7,000 appeal cases are pending before Haryana State Information Commission. Conflict. Forest Revenue Departments at odds over elephant fury at Kerala Temple Festival. Again, No unity between these two departments. Forest department is blaming revenue, revenue is blaming forest. Revenue officials pointed to suspected violation of Kerala Captive Elephants Act while bursting firecrackers. So, again, one is telling one, another one is telling another rule. So, conflict between two departments of the same state government. Caste Hindus attack SC youth in Tamil Nadu for riding two-wheeler. Caste-based conflict again. Forgetting that we are all, after all, Indians. Taking a serious view of medical waste from other states, particularly Kerala being dumped in Tamil Nadu, Madurai bench of the Madras High Court on Monday observed that officials should confiscate vehicles used for the offence to instill fear in the offenders. Confiscate vehicles and put fear in them. Who is telling? The High Court. Now, why did this matter have to go all the way to the High Court? Because medical waste, particularly from the state of Kerala, was being dumped in Tamil Nadu. And this again shows the conflict between the departments because no department was ready to take the responsibility. Notice, Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary, Secretaries to Home, Prohibition and Excise Department, Municipal Administration and Water Supply Department, Environment, Climate Change and Forest Department, Rural Development and Panchayati Raj Department, Chairperson of Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, Director General of Police of Tamil Nadu. Basically implemented, that is, brought all these people into line here. Because each and everybody is responsible for this, to ensure, to stop this. But nobody was doing any job. Finally, the High Court had to intervene to tell that, punish them, seize the vehicle, put fear in their heart. Getting the point here. Centre stand prompted Kerala to explore a revenue generating model for KIIFB. Kerala had moved the Supreme Court under Article 131 of the Constitution after letters to the Prime Minister and the Union Finance Minister seeking their intervention to exclude KIFB loans from the state's borrowings proved futile. That means KIFB is a bank again. Okay. KIFB is a bank. So Kerala's fiscal health is in a very bad state. So what the Chief Minister was telling was, whatever money we are borrowing from KIFB, that should not be counted as under our existing loans. That should be kept separate. But when no response came from the center, Kerala decided to take matters into its own hands and go to Supreme Court. Getting the point here. So this again shows what conflict between center and the state. This also shows one more thing, the poor fiscal health of the state of Kerala. But rather than taking accountability for their financial mismanagement, they have been constantly blaming the center for it. Clear? Moving forward. In Paul-bound Meghalaya, rat hole coal mining hopes ride on Article 371. Now, rat hole coal mining is something Supreme Court has also said should be banned completely because it is very inhuman. But then, in Meghalaya, what they are telling is, let us use Article 371, which gives us that permission for what? To protect our local customary customs, etc. So, under that, we will try to bring coal mining. Why? There is no other employment opportunity. So, this is a clear case of conflict, right? One between livelihood and one right to life. Because right to life and right to a dignified life and a decent livelihood tells what? Coal mining should be abandoned. What alternative is there? Nothing. That is why they are trying to bring it under Article 371. Madhya Pradesh dam project could submerge critical tiger corridor, says NTCA. NTCA has warned that the construction of the Morant Ganjal irrigation project in Madhya Pradesh could submerge forested areas used by tigers to move between reserves and has strongly recommended exploring alternative sites, government records show. Environmental conflict. Again, development versus environment. Same thing again, conflict. 6 states resolve against UGC's new draft regulation. That is UGC's whatever new draft regulation is there. It is not a bill, not an act. 6 states have problems with it. Which are those states? Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu, Telangana. All the states are non-BJP states. Just telling you. The problem is, states have no power in the appointment of vice chancellor and the governor has been given complete power. All the functioning, including development of infrastructure of the universities, recruitment salary, and other rules are carried out by the state government. This is the problem. Complete power with the governor, but responsibility is everything with the state. States are asking, how can that be possible? Governor will choose the vice chancellor, everything, and we cannot have any say in it. We who are spending the money, we who are paying the salary. So, conflict is going on. Needs theory. Orissa High Court objects to maintenance demand by educated wives. That is, you are already educated, you can get a job. Then why the hell do you need alimony from your husband? Clear question? So what is the answer to this? Basic needs theory, right? This is crossing the basic needs and it is going into what? Extravagant needs. This is different graphs showing whether the prices of components have increased or decreased. All right. Maximum have told that spending on essential items has increased here. Prices of commodities have increased. Then here, spending on non-essential items stayed the same. Below that, it has decreased. Some are telling it has increased. Share of respondents who said that their income levels had increased, decreased, or stayed the same. Again, you can see stayed the same is more. Job opportunities had improved, worsened, or stayed the same. They are telling it has worsened. Economic situation has also worsened. Maximum are telling. Bottom line is what? Economy is not looking good. Just because the tax rates were dropped doesn't mean that spending will improve. There is a good amount of chance that people, whatever extra money that they are going to have, they'll just try to clear their debts. Bring down their debt actually, rather than improving saving. Improving saving or improving, even for that matter, their spending. That is what people are telling. Because confidence is not there even in the job market. When the job will go, nobody knows. Taking it further forward, classical theory. Coastal regions must guard telecom assets from disasters. Who is telling? The Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Coastal regions should take the responsibility completely. Giving clarity. This is your responsibility. This is your job. Division of work and responsibility. Evolution of public administration. IT bill arms taxman with power to tap SSC devices and social media. We have to see how this thing will come out now in the future. Goes without saying, see, I wouldn't be surprised that government is, if already they are not doing it. But now they need a proper bill just to ensure that this they can take it up further forward. Intention is very clear, improve the tax collection, no matter what. Taking it further forward, provide all government services on WhatsApp, Naidu tells officials. That is, from good governance to digital governance, etc. Slowly we are moving into WhatsApp governance, or if we keep our IT bill in mind, then we are going into what? Public administration is evolving into social media governance. That is, providing governance as well as regulating governance through social media. Clear, people? Moving on. Governor. Why were you silent about the bill? Supreme Court asks Tamil Nadu governor. Why did you keep silent about the bills? They would have probably agreed with you. Supreme Court on Monday questioned the long silence of Tamil Nadu governor spanning months and years to the state's bills, culminating in his withholding of consent and the reference of at least 10 bills to the president for consideration. That is, when bills were referred to the governor, he kept silent for months together, years together. Finally, what he did, he referred to the bill to the president. This is nowhere mentioned in the constitution. Governor can give assent, withhold assent, return the bill back with comments for reconsideration. Once the bill comes back, then he has to give his assent. Fourth, reserve the bill for president. But Mr. Ravi has been very notorious in this regard. That is, he is going on creating delaying tactics, or is going on creating new precedents which is not at all mentioned in the constitution. So he goes quiet for 1 or 2 years, withholds his assent, then he suddenly says, I have referred them to the president. Imagine keeping 2 bills, withholding the assent for withholding the bills for at least 2 years. When he is questioned, when are you going to sign it? He is telling, oh yeah, I am going to reserve it for the president. Where is it written in the constitution? The governor had earlier communicated to the state his objections regarding the constitution of the Search Cum Selection Committee for the appointment of vice chancellors of state universities. The governor chancellor sought the inclusion of UGC chairperson's nomination in the Search Cum Selection Committee. The state bills passed subsequently sought to remove the governor, who was also ex officio chancellor of the universities. Why did you keep silent if you found them repugnant, is what the Supreme Court is asking. Clear? So this issue will keep continuing. The issue about the governor, that will be there always. And this part here, let me tell you, what is this about? So normally, governor is, in most states, governor is also the vice chancellor the chancellor of universities. But very recently, like I've taught in my class, public administration, I've told you how certain governors have been using this post to fire the VCs of a university. It is a publicly known secret that the post of VCs are mostly political appointments. Whichever government is in power, they will appoint them. But very recently, be it in West Bengal, be it in Telangana, be it in Maharashtra, be it in Tamil Nadu, be it in Kerala, in all these places, VC and governors have been having conflict. The governor is questioning the VC, governor is firing the VC, suspending the VC, all such things. So much so that West Bengal passed a law itself telling what henceforth VC of a university will be decided by the government, and chief minister will be the chancellor. Literally removing the governor from the role of what? Chancellor of universities. Earlier, governor's position as chancellor was just decorative, ornamental. Come for the passing out parade, sign the certificates, etc. Give the certificates to the best students, give a very boring speech, go back home. But these days, that is not the case. Governors have started taking an active involvement in the functioning of state universities. Now, $1 million question is there any constitutional law that tells that governors should be appointed as chancellors? No. There is no such law. In fact, Sarkaria Commission and Punchi Commission has also told governors should only be involved with those duties that is constitutionally mandated, not which is, given to them. Anything other than constitutionally mandated duty, governors should stay away from it. So we will wait for more news articles here just to get to know about this better. Supreme Court took here Kerala's plea on governor's conduct in March. Governor in opposition ruled states have triggered a tendency to delay assent or indefinitely sit on crucial bills passed by the legislature. Same thing what Tamil Nadu governor did. Especially in non-BJP ruled states, we can see this trend. Constant conflict. This will never go out of fashion. As long as India is there, problems between governor and the state will continue. Niti Aayog Niti Aayog report seeks more public funding for higher education. Jammu and Kashmir spends most for education as a percentage of GDP at 8.11, Manipur 7.25, Meghalaya 6.64, Tripura 6.1%. We have already seen the data, so no need to take it any further. With that, we come to an end of our discussion, people. I know it was pretty lengthy, but like I told you, please consider these sessions as a quick revision. And when you constantly keep these examples, listen to these examples, you're silently doing your revision. Fastest way to do revision for paper 1 and paper 2 of PABAT just by listening to the current affairs of public administration. Clear? Any further suggestions if you have, please let me know. Like I told you, these current affairs will not only help you for your optional, it is also going to be beneficial for your GS paper 1, paper 2, to certain extent your paper 3. Clear? So, stay tuned with this channel. Any further concerns or queries, let me know. Any improvements are required, let me know. Take care.